The world is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. W.B. Yeats. Welcome to the Transformation Highway. I'm your host, Kristen Carlson, here on this glorious spring day, just loving the warmth of the sun up here in Washington, and also feeling so much warmth for being able to reconnect with a dear friend after many years. I was blessed to host Denise Elizabeth Byron many times over the course of the radio show at KZSC up in the Redwoods in Santa Cruz, and she was at the very top of my list when I birthed back this second version. So I would like to welcome Denise Elizabeth Byron, who is a psychic mentor and visionary guide who weaves astrology, numerology, intuition, and embodied wisdom together, exploring the deeper patterns of life purposes and paths. Through soulful, refined, and deeply attuned guidance, she helps clients navigate change, reclaim their gifts, trust their inner knowing, and step forward with greater clarity, grace, alignment, and connection to their soul's authentic evolution. And indeed, she does. Welcome, Denise.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. It's so good to be here. It's so good to see you and talk with you. And it feels like those days back in the studio where they don't seem that long ago, but it has been a decade
It's been
or
a
so.
decade. I
Yeah.
know, I know. Isn't time funny like that? Where it feels
hmm
so close and like a lifetime ago at the same
Yes.
time.
Yes, exactly. I'm so grateful to be here with you and so grateful that the Transformation Highway is open again because
It
we
is
need
open.
you.
It's
We
open
need
and we're
you.
on
Yeah.
it.
Yes. Yeah.
We're cruising down it together.
Yes. Fabulous.
So there's so much to talk about, and I am just particularly excited to hear about how your journey has been really since we've been able to chat and what's going on and everything. But before we dive into all of those things, I always love to just give a little backstory for those who are meeting you for the first time. And I think it's really lovely that you have an arc happening in your story right now where once upon a time, you found yourself in Ashland as an English teacher, I believe, that way back when, yes?
Well, the English teacher
No?
part was earlier.
Oh,
No,
was it
but
earlier?
that's
You
okay.
weren't. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know why I thought you were
Yeah.
doing English in
There's
Ash.
there's
Probably because of
no. Yeah.
the Shakespeare. It was
Yes,
connecting the
but it's
Shakespeare with.
true. Yes, I
Okay,
did definitely add that into what I was doing when I first moved to Ashland. You're right about that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then
Yeah.
you kind of went, ooh, full circle, had a whole
hmm
life journey, and you're back in
Yes,
Ashland. So
I am.
share a bit of your journey with us, please.
Well, gosh, it's interesting you bring up the teaching. When I did teach, and I always call myself a recovering English teacher. I loved it. It was one of the most fabulous things, and that was um, 30 years ago now that I
Wow.
left teaching in that way and started to follow my path into Ashland, which actually began a very spiritual awakening within myself. I had had a lot of training in my psychic work, obviously, from a very young age, and in the astrology and numerology and tarot. All of that and was early on in life. And then in my 20s, definitely had the psychic mentors come in and work with them. And then in my 30s, I moved to Ashland and began a deeper dive. And that first journey into Ashland lasted almost 14 years and just opened me to so many wonderful possibilities, so many new skills and tools and options. And then, as you say, life changed dramatically. So I found myself moving to Santa Cruz for nearly 14 years, maybe 13 years. And I'm so glad I did. I wouldn't have met all the people that I know right now, including you. That Santa Cruz journey was fantastic. And it was when I began to really put myself out more in the world with the work that I do now, which is how you met me. And certainly you were a big part of my journey coming into a more full visibility with who I am and what I do. And I can remember being on the radio show and, we just talk about all the things that we're going to talk about. And it was, you make it very easy, very natural. And that was the very first time I had ever really spoken publicly in that way about who I
Okay,
am
wow.
and what I have to offer. So
Yeah,
that was a huge beginning for me. And I don't know if you knew that, but that was a really
I
important.
didn't.
It was a really important part of the journey. And then in 2020, for obvious reasons, communities began to change. Things shifted. The
Mm-hmm.
community that um, I had in Santa Cruz started to change radically, and different opportunities started to present themselves. And so I'm always losing track because we have moved a lot since 2020. But in 2023, we found ourselves, and when I say we, my partner David and I found ourselves back here in Ashland. And I say back here for both of us because even though we didn't know each other, I don't think you know this, even though we didn't know each other back in 2007, he used to live here when I
No
lived here.
way. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
We
Wow.
we re, yeah, we remember like an energetic of probably passing each other in the co-op or something, just so anyway, when we both came back here, he wasn't here for too long. He was here for maybe a year and a half or 2 years, and I was here for much longer,
Okay.
but it was like coming home. This area supports the work that we both do.
Yes.
I'm so blessed to have community here, to drop into friends who I've known for 30 years
Yeah.
here. And still missing, we were just talking about this, still missing my community in Santa Cruz. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing to be back. My life has changed a lot. My work and my community has now extended internationally in a really big way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's also interesting. So now I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to leave to go be with my community in the United Kingdom, which is growing all the time. And so we'll be able to spend time with them for a
Yes.
while and then come back here.
Wonderful.
I know, right? So, what an amazing, and I know you understand, there is this highway that we
Yep.
are traveling
Yeah.
literally and
Mm-hmm.
figuratively
Mm-hmm.
for
Absolutely.
transformation and our own evolution. So the work is similar. I am still offering
Mm.
astrology sessions to introduce people to that level of how we want to connect with our soul's evolution. But I now have a lot of mentoring programs and am facilitating retreats and workshops as well. So it's
Okay.
grown. It has its own evolution as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because 2020, I think you've mentioned took everything digital for you. Were you doing mostly in person
Yes, yeah,
before that?
exactly.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
It was interesting, Kristen, though, in 2017, I was, the people listening to this will understand this. I got a download that I needed to start something on Zoom. I needed to start something in what I was calling the virtual temple. And so in 2017, I started at the time it had a different name, but the Create New Moon Magic with Your Inner Goddess started in
Yes.
2017.
Uh-huh.
Every month for the new moon. And it is still going because in 2020, it just became, okay, this is what we're doing
Yeah.
now. And then I started the Cosmic Compass Conversations, which is the Monday that
Hmm.
you'll have to come on that. That'll be fun.
Oh,
You can be
yes.
my
Yeah.
guest on Cosmic
Okay.
Compass. That'll
Yay.
be so fun.
Woohoo.
Um, so I started those in April of 2020 because I realized at that point things weren't getting better really quick. So I wanted
Yeah.
to create community online. And I remember in 2019, and I don't know if you and I had talked about this or not, But in 2019, I had gotten the message, if you need to be where you want to be by January 12th of 2020, which
Oh,
was a
wow.
significant astrological event. What I didn't know was why. And people would always say, but
Okay.
why? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just being given this information. And, psychic information can really only, I mean, we're the filter. So
Yeah.
I obviously haven't watched enough apocalyptic films to know about a pandemic. So I wasn't the right channel for that information to be exact, but I knew that we all had to be in place. I just didn't know why. So then when I got the
Did
message
you
started,
did you get a
yeah.
sense of the heaviness that
Oh yes,
that you
I
knew it
did.
was something a little bit
I
ominous?
did. I
Okay.
did. I just didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what. I just
Yeah.
knew people I wanted people to feel safe. That was my
Yeah.
overriding feeling. So when I wasn't
Okay.
focused so much on the doom and gloom, but I was more like I just want people to feel safe and connected wherever they are.
Yeah.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so then that April, I got the message, just go ahead and start an online community. And the idea was, and I swear, Kristen, you have always inspired me because in the back of my mind, I was thinking about your show that you had on the radio. And I'm like, that is a community, that was creating community. That was a
Mm-hmm.
community show and it was creating community. And so I heard start a community on Zoom. And I don't know, Cosmic Compass Conversations was just the name that came to me. So that's what I named it. And that has been, mine is sometimes, there's been times I've needed to take time off, but most Mondays since 2020, April of 2020. So we're actually right at that anniversary. And I have to say, I'm
Wow.
shocked. 6 years have gone by since that
I
moment in time.
wow. Wow. So
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
many good conversations.
So many good conversations. And I wanted it to be practical,
Mhm.
meaning I wanted to interview people. See, you were my
Yeah.
inspiration. I wanted to interview people and have it be information about their story, of course,
Mhm.
but
Right.
also what were the practical things that we could be doing to help our anxiety, to help our stress levels,
Yeah. Hmm.
to live our lives in uncertainty. And I guess what I honestly, I mean, I can look at the astrology and see all the markers that have gotten us to this point.
Hmm.
And I just honestly didn't think we would still live in such times of uncertainty
Hmm.
as we do now. So that part again, I tend to skew toward the positive. So
Yeah.
sometimes I
I
don't always
know.
see the
Yeah.
hardest part, but I know that
Mhm.
we need each other. I know that we need to develop resilience. And more than
Yes.
anything, I know that that frequency of love and frequency of light, like you have that sun behind you, that is what I feel is the most important thing to develop. Like the more we can be ourselves authentically and be that light and that love in the world, then I know that makes a huge difference. So that's where I focus.
Absolutely.
That tends to be the focus. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all have the opportunity to do it wherever we find ourselves, in whatever container of
Absolutely.
life that we find
Yep.
ourselves. It's the grist for
Hmm.
the mill to to cultivate that, you know. I was just
Absolutely. And yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, as far as your guests, like what were some of the themes for the people that you are interviewing? What kind of guests do you
Well,
have
you
on?
would be a theme. You would be a theme. People that are committed to transformation, people that are committed to evolution and healing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Specifically during the 2020 era, I had people who did Reiki and other forms of energetic healing to come in and teach us things. A reflexologist come in, teach us
Oh,
how to help
nice.
ourselves. Movement.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
David came in, talked about some things in terms of the medical qigong
Yep.
area. And nowadays, I often have a conversation with the cosmos, literally just me and the cosmos and some tarot cards. But I've been doing a lot of astrology because we are in such an intense time. And so
Yes.
of late, I did have guests on the last few weeks, and I will have another guest on next week. So I'm excited. And whenever it is that this episode gets released, I just want to let people know that, um, Cosmic Compass Conversations will probably restart in June because I will be traveling. But it is fun. It's a place where people come to deepen and talk tarot, astrology, intuition, and the guests are the range is vast at this point. So I've been featuring a lot of
Beautiful.
yeah, I've been featuring a lot of authors of late,
Oh, very cool.
which has
Cool.
been fun. And obviously, all these books, whether they are most of them, I think I try to think, not all of them are novels, but all of them have a spiritual theme or an evolutionary theme.
Yep.
And so that's been fun. So we've had a few book groups and but
Ooh.
I do tend to want people to walk away having learned something and having
Yes.
connected with an energy that supports them through their week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is what it's all about. Some
Yeah. Yeah.
inspiration. Yeah. Um, do you bring on other astrologers? Do you ever interview
I,
other
you know,
astrologers? I'm
I
curious. What's
don't,
that dynamic?
I have talked to other people who do astrology. Um, I think my friend Sherry's been on. I'll probably have her on again. She's a business astrologer. And yeah, I mean, over the years, I've tried to go pretty wide and kind of find all the
Yeah.
different things out there.
Yes.
We've had past life therapists.
Oh,
Everyone actually
fun.
who's on is interested in astrology. They may not be doing the exact same work, but I will mention my colleague who's a former student. She still mentors with me, but Jenna Monaco Schaefer of Santa
Mm-hmm.
Cruz Mountain Reiki, she does
Mm-hmm.
astrology and she does it very, very well. And
Mm.
but she has been studying with me for a while. And then Jessica Lowe of Naturally Rooted up in Canada, she's also so they've been on, and we talk astrology and tarot. And there's probably more, and I feel bad if I've forgotten someone. I apologize. It's just spur of the
Well,
moment.
six years of interviews is a lot of people, a lot of friends to
It
bring
is.
on.
It is. It is. And I think what I've loved so much is that each of us has a story that brings us to a greater awakening to our own gifts. And that's really what I want to highlight, that
Yeah.
each of us we can each do that. It's not that I'm the only one who can do this. You can
Mm-hmm.
do this, other
Mm-hmm.
people are doing it. And I learn from every guest. That's what's so
Totally.
amazing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's about um the sharing of stories. Like I
Hmm.
feel like a story collector, as
Yeah.
somebody who's interviewing and we all find like the common thread in our humanity by sharing our stories and hearing other people's stories. And they're all so valuable and unique. I mean, you could really just grab anybody off the street and say, "Tell me your story," and they would have some amazing thing to
Mhm.
share, some offering. So that is our shared humanity here.
I always love the way you articulate all these ideas. And it
Oh,
reminds me that the way you weave words and the poetry that you choose and the quotes that you choose, um, to just remind you that one of the many gifts you have is with the weaving of story, maybe others, but also your own, the weaving of story and words through song.
yes.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
gift. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I've been getting back into recording and I wrote a book last year.
Want to hear more about that?
Yeah. So I'm still working on it. I'm, in the editing and the figuring out the whole, thing, right? But yeah, it's been sort of this blowing open of the creative energies the past year, which is something that I actually wanted to ask you about what your perspective is on. We go through these cycles and you hear about like Saturn return in
Yep.
astrology or 8-year
Yep.
cycles but
Yes.
I'm curious about your take on these moments in life where we open up to ourselves, like a real
Hmm.
big cracking open. And for me, I experienced it as um, more of my soul coming into my body,
Hmm.
like more of
Yep.
myself coming in. Um, and there have been a couple of these moments in life, but what's your take on that, especially for women, and like how our energy and our cycles
Yeah.
work?
That's such a good question. I love your questions. I'm a bit distracted because I'm so aware of your personal shifts and how that you're just in the outer range of what we call the Great Awakening in astrology, and you'll be moving through that for the next 4 or 5 years. That's you personally. So I wanted to
Yay.
just put that
Thank
out there
you.
that you're already in that outer edge. Like the image I have is very similar to what you have behind you, that you're headed toward that mountain so you can see things from a new perspective. But right now you're in the meadow and you're walking through the meadow and you're gaining um, your strength and your perception and awareness and aliveness as you walk toward that next big transition in astrology. So,
Oh,
yeah, that's
thank
a personal
you.
thing.
Love
Okay.
that. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So it's interesting you mentioned both the collective astrology and also how I think our personal astrology and our collective astrology obviously need to weave together, which is what we do in a
Right.
session.
Yeah.
Um, there are particular times, as you know, we hear about the returns. A lot of people know about a Saturn return, particularly your audience would know
Mhm.
about their Saturn returns in their late 20s. But there are returns all the time. We have a Venus return, we have a solar return, we have lunar returns every month. The bigger ones do actually bring us into a greater journey. And I think your last guest actually was speaking to this when he was talking about, astrology gives us a measurement. We can look at time and um, we can look at where we've been and where we're going. And so, one of the things that's been happening, and so again, just to, I can talk for hours, so just interrupt me when it's time. But in general, so
Please
let's talk about,
share.
yeah, let's talk about women because Jupiter's been in Cancer. So, Jupiter's been
Okay.
in Cancer since last summer. Cancer is one of the signs that is very definitely in the feminine realm or the more yin. It is a sign that is deeply intuitive, very nurturing, very insightful, um, very strong, very much like don't cross a Cancer, especially
Hmm.
a mom who's a Cancer.
Hmm.
It's like there's definitely this strong energy there.
The mother bear. Yeah.
Jupiter, yeah, definitely. And so Jupiter in Cancer often brings us back to looking at the divine feminine, if you will, and also for women and men. I don't want to exclude them, but a reminder of what are the qualities in us that are receptive. How is it that we are receiving? How is it that we are and receptivity is not act is it's not inactive, it's active. So, active receptivity, how am I in motion? How am I in movement as I'm receiving information or experiences? Cancer is a water sign, it's very emotional. Women are, and I think we can agree on this, uh, very much connected to the moon and the lunar cycles in general. Like the
Right.
moon itself is our greatest, if we're going to do, I always say there's one thing in astrology that would be worth learning is the lunar cycles and what it means,
Mm.
like your own moon for sure.
Yeah.
But what does it mean when the moon is where it is? Like, I don't have today's chart in front of me. Um, but if I did, and I will in just a moment, as we are doing this recording, the moon is in Capricorn, which is your
Okay.
moon.
Which is my
And
moon.
so it is
Yeah.
your moon. So just turns out we didn't plan it that
That's
way.
so funny.
But
That's so funny.
yeah, it just
Which
turns out. So
what is
go ahead.
moon in Capricorn? This is one that's always confused me.
Okay.
What
So
does the
it's
moon
your
in
moon.
Capricorn represent?
Yeah, it's your moon, and you have it at 0 degrees. So you're beginning this journey in your own personal chart. And so the moon in Capricorn is the part of you that is allowing the emotions a solid container so they're not spread all over. The
Okay.
moon in Capricorn can be very efficient. It can There's a lot about parenting in both Cancer and Capricorn. There's a lot of debate. It's a lot of people will say Cancer is the mother and Capricorn's the father, but apparently there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of debate about that. So I just
Okay.
say parenting. Just say
Okay.
parenting. So good parenting.
Uh-huh.
Moon in Capricorn tends to be very responsible. Definitely wants to make sure that everyone is doing okay. Similarly, its opposite, Moon in Cancer, make sure everybody is doing okay, but coming from a different perspective. So the moon in Cancer is very nourishing and nurturing, and I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure you're doing okay by giving you that nurturing energy.
Mm-hmm.
The moon in Capricorn says, what are the structures we need in order to make sure that everyone has what is necessary right now? What are the foundations, the structures? What are the boundaries, the parameters? And so it's more on, it's an earth sign.
You're
So it's
right.
more of the tangible. Like, how do we
Okay.
hold this safely and
Okay.
efficiently?
Okay.
And Capricorn moon is very good with words, efficient use of words and language. Um, and emotion, the moon isn't the only place we find emotion or the emotional body in
Mhm.
an astrology chart, but it is the main one. And to have moon in Capricorn means that you have very tender emotions. And yet there is a nice, solid Capricornian shield that can go up at any time and needs to be there in order to make it safe for everybody else. So there's
Mhm.
very much about leadership. Um, and so you asked about women, and I think this is really important. The moon is important for all of us. The moon is important for women. All signs have leadership. All signs have receptivity. So this isn't about breaking things down like this is feminine and this is masculine. But the moon in Capricorn is very much leadership oriented. The moon in Cancer can also be leadership oriented, but it's going to be a different kind of leadership,
Right.
right?
Right. Mm.
And to go back to your question, because I don't want to lose the thread of this, Jupiter in Cancer has amplified that feminine, that divine feminine, active receptivity, insight, intuition, and it has been a place of creation, that deep wanting to um, birth things into the world, right?
Okay.
And to
Right.
create, to connect with foundation, to connect with children, to connect with ancestors. Jupiter is about to move into Leo, which will bring a very different energy, and that
Okay.
will happen end of June
Okay.
of this year.
One
Okay.
of the big ones
It is. We've had so
shifting.
many. Yeah, we've had
Yeah.
every major planet will shift, plus the nodes shift also this year. So we've
It's
had
big.
quite a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are, I don't know when this will be released, but we are on the eve of the Uranus shift from Taurus to Gemini, which again
Oh,
brings a big change on April
wow.
26th. Yeah,
Wow.
huge
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
And the
So
stellium going on it right, on the 15th, I
in
think it
Aries,
starts here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, it is. And so um, we can all use these for our own centering, our own connection to our soul's path, purpose, evolution. And everything can be utilized. And for women in particular, so now I'm going to answer your question 25 minutes later. I've often found that for women in particular, the Grand Awakening, which is between the ages of 42 and 44 in particular, that's the more intense part, is an opening. That's for everyone. For women, it does coincide with often the beginnings of perimenopause, or just sort of maybe I have friends who have just had babies at 46. So it does, life just continues. So you do what you do in the midst
Yep.
of all that. But by
Yep.
age 49 and 50, when we get to our Chiron return, so returning of Chiron,
Right.
that's when things are really different. We all, if we're lucky enough to live that long, we have an opportunity to do a lot of healing, a lot of healing. And for women, this absolutely coincides with the beginnings of menopause. So,
Yep.
beginnings of perimenopause in the early 40s, beginnings of menopause in the early 50s. Saturn return comes later in the 50s. So, people remember that there's more than one Saturn return.
Yeah. If
So
you're
for
lucky enough,
women,
three.
yes, I'm hoping for that. Like, I'm like
Yeah.
ready. Yeah, I'm working on the third. Let's see if
Yeah,
we can
that's
get there.
right. Yeah.
Um, so I think that for women in particular, following the natural transitions of the body and
Hmm.
embodying the astrology is key.
Hmm.
Because, again, what is healing? Well, healing can be different for each person. What is an awakening? An awakening will be different for each person, but how do we live it? How do we embody it? Where do we bring that energy? How do we increase our capacity for that energy, particularly in the 40s? And then again and again, really the 40s are really the power decade in so many ways. And then again, 50s and 60s, and then the 80s are a power decade. By the way, in case anyone's out there who's listening
Yes,
who's in their 80s, it's a big power decade.
absolutely. My
Yeah.
mom
So
has that to
anyway,
look forward to. She's headed into that
yeah.
power decade.
Oh, excellent. Well, Kristen's mom, you're great. We are so excited for you.
I
And
know.
yeah. And like you said, if we do make it to a third Saturn return, the 90s become another opportunity. And then you have usually a Pluto opposition somewhere in the late 80s and 90s. And I mean, there's just so much. This is why I love it. Like my Venus in
Yeah.
Gemini loves this because there's so much for us to look at. But the idea really is, how do we embody it? What are the practical ways in which we
Right.
can bring this energy into ourselves? So,
Yes. Which is such a
mhm.
big part of your practice, and what you've
It
been
is.
doing is about
Yeah.
bringing it into the body.
Mhm.
Are you still doing women's circles and the
Yeah.
sensuous movement? Are you doing it in person? Is it online? What is going
That's a
on?
great question. Yeah, 2020 changed a lot of things. And
Yeah,
so
I
I
know.
took that online and opened it up again as an opportunity for women to gather in a virtual temple and to do the practice of sensuous wisdom and to go into the movement um, of what many of us call the womb space, or the sacral area in the body. And that in many traditions is called the Loredantien. It is the power center of the body. And so bringing awareness and aliveness to the power center of the body helps us. It gives us energy, it gives us life. And women in particular, they give life. Not every
Mhm.
woman births a baby, but every woman is birthing something. And
Yeah.
that I have no doubt. And so we need our energy. And a lot of times women are cut off from that
Mhm.
energy. We are taught in this culture, and I don't even want to go down that road today. But the fact of the matter is, when we were talking 10 years ago, I could not have imagined where we'd be today. Women have been, I would have thought we would have been further along in this, but women
Yeah.
have been taught
Yeah.
to, it's okay to feel in your heart, but it's not okay to feel your power anywhere else in
Mhm.
your body. And so it actually doesn't serve anybody, male or female, to cut off the power center in the body. So,
Mm.
most people, and you know this as a yoga practitioner and other things that you do, when you're moving the body and you're engaging in all the different areas of the body, there's a physical experience, there's an emotional experience, there's a spiritual experience,
Absolutely.
that weaves it all together. And so
Yes.
I am a big fan of that. So to get back to your question, I still have groups online that meet occasionally. I am only in person now doing retreats that are planned, and I
Okay.
do have some already planned this year. And I am doing private immersions up here in Ashland, Oregon. So
Okay.
people, women, men, but if we're working in the embodiment realm, I
Yeah.
actually have David, we've actually had male clients who come, and
Yeah.
we each have an embodiment practice that we teach. So he can work with men specifically around
Perfect.
embodiment. And then I can work with
Perfect.
the women
Yeah.
specifically around that. So we're still doing things in person. I'm traveling to go do some of this work overseas, so that's great. And
Will you be doing the this work over there in the UK?
I will
Is that
be.
part of
I
what you'll
am.
be teaching?
Yes, I am. I'm pretty excited. And
Mm.
again, it can be done online. I teach, I have not created a beginner's class online because how do I want to say this? It's just energy is energy, but I do like to be in the room, literally in the room when someone is
Yeah.
new. I have very gently begun with the different groups that I lead of women, just weaving in some of the meditation practice, but not the entire practice as it
Okay.
exists.
Okay.
There are teachers who are now certified. I have, I think at least 5, 6, 7, 8. I think 8 teachers who are now certified to teach
Mm.
this practice. Some in Washington, not
Oh,
far from here.
really? Oh,
Yes, I have one in
okay.
Washington, and there are teachers in California, in Canada. Um, Gosh, other places that I can't think of in this moment. But there are teachers and people um, offer classes at different times. So sensuous wisdom, I do want to say that I encourage the teachers to name it something that suits them, but
Mhm.
it is an embodiment practice based on a very particular format that was taught to me by my teachers. And I just feel very blessed to be able to bring whatever form of it I can into the world.
Mhm.
Women need circles of community. And you've talked about that many, many times. I think people
Yes.
need them, not to be, excluding men or non binary. All of
Mhm.
us need
Yeah,
community.
we do.
Okay.
We do. And
And
practices.
practices, we
Yeah.
definitely do. So, when I do the create new moon magic, we are focusing on the inner goddess, so we are focusing on the feminine. But that particular group that's been going for so long, we do have we have a very specific format that includes moving into the body before we even embrace the astrology. So
Mm.
we are
Yeah.
opening the body, dropping into the body,
Yeah.
deepening in. We go on a journey to meet our inner goddess of that month to talk to us and share with us. And then we come back and we share with each other. There's something so beautiful about witnessing everyone sharing and learning from each other. I
Yes.
think it's, if there was one thing that I will take with me out of this life that I find really moving, I'm gonna cry, is when women share with each other their insights, their own
Mm.
intuitions.
Mhm.
These come from, you know, journeys, as you say, our own stories and our own journeys.
Mm.
And when we gather together and we have a solid, safe, and sacred container,
Mhm.
then we can share the insights and wisdom with
Mhm.
that come for us, but they naturally fit for almost everyone in the group. And I
Hmm.
absolutely think if there's been anything I've done in my lifetime, whew, that I feel has been important, it's been that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves enough credit, and so being in the
Hmm.
safety of
Yes.
circle with other women gives us the safety and the ability to show ourselves.
Yeah.
And we all are missing that so much as humans,
Hmm.
just in
Yeah.
general. Life can
Yes.
get pretty surface, and we can also tend to get down on ourselves.
Hmm.
Or I'll speak for myself. I can get really critical. It's easy to get that way, and so
Yeah.
to have a space to really go within and
Hmm.
connect with the messages, quiet
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Unless you're really cultivating those practices, then maybe we don't get the opportunity to do that often.
I agree. And I think that as I have moved so much over these last years, finally feeling pretty settled now, I'm able to now honor that group online practice. And I will continue to do the online practices. And there will come a time where I will open back up again for people who are new. And that format has not revealed itself yet to me. I love being in a room, literal room with
I know.
someone
I
when
know.
that happens. So
Yeah.
it's not necessary. Energy can travel. It doesn't need to be in the same space, but
Right.
there's something about it that's super special. So anyway, if anyone's interested in learning more, just they can contact me and I can put them in touch with someone in their area, or if not, we'll figure something out. But
Okay.
it
Perfect.
is an amazing thing. And I think the one thing I would encourage every woman who's listening, if there's not a community of people who you feel are like you or that you would feel safe enough to be in, create one.
Yes.
Be
Yep.
that being who offers a safe and sacred space. And there are ways to do that that are better than others. So, again, I can always point people in the right direction if
Hmm.
they're interested in any kind of, any, I
Hmm.
seriously, I am about to tell you a little story.
Okay.
Tell you a story.
Please tell
When I
us.
was teaching, yes, when I was teaching back in the early 1990s, I was teaching high school. And at that time, I was teaching at an all girls school and I was teaching literature. And we had to read. Wait, listen, I sound like such a teenager. We had to read part of the, let me see if I can sound more professional. Part of the curriculum was to read Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which again, fabulous book, right? Just so much deeper than people might realize.
Hmm.
So we read Little Women, and their response was, of course, at first like, well, why do we have to do this? But they got into it, and one of the things that I did as a way to show them, because again, how do you this embodiment thing started a long time ago. If you're going to teach
Yes.
literature, then you better embody it. Like, what does it mean? Who are these characters? What do they
Yeah.
feel like? What do they look like? What's the feeling going on? So
Mhm.
I created sewing circles. So one day they showed up and for class and we had sewing circles. And yeah, it was great. I just
Oh,
bought
that's
some
great.
cloth and it was like everyone had to put together two squares on their own and then trade and then they created bigger squares, right? Like for a
Oh,
quilt.
love it.
Which
Yeah.
actually we ended up making quilts from this, but
Oh.
um in that 1 hour, there is an actual point to this story. In that 1 hour, the girls at the time, they came up afterwards and they said, I've known so and so since fourth grade, and I never knew anything that I learned today in 1 hour.
Mhm.
There was something about being together. Now, and the reason why do I bring up sewing circles? Because this has been going on a long time, and women
Yes.
have known this forever. And so, what are
Yes.
our modern day
Yeah.
what is our modern day circle going to look like? It doesn't
Mm.
have to be a sewing circle, by the way. It might be a sensuous wisdom embodiment circle, or it might be
Yes. Yeah.
some other kind of creative
Might be a
arts,
hiking
or
group.
it could be a hiking group or a biking group
Hmm.
or whatever. But that idea of coming together in community.
Yeah.
Pluto in Aquarius. So this is a current astrology. Pluto's going to
Yeah.
be in Aquarius for a very long time. And really, that's what Pluto's trying to show us. That
Yeah.
transformation occurs through community. So, Kristen, should you be surprised that this happened while Pluto's in Aquarius? You're all about community and you're all about transformation. And here Pluto's in Aquarius just for the
I
last
know.
year or so,
I
right?
know. I know. I know.
You
It's,
knew.
but it feels so good. You know,
Yeah.
it feels so good to click back into it
Yeah. Yeah.
and just kind of remember who you are,
It's a
you
natural
know.
fit.
Yeah,
It's a natural fit.
it
So, yes,
is.
community circles, gathering, honoring wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
We could not be at a better time where that is needed and necessary.
Absolutely.
And I just encourage, seriously, if, and I hear this a lot in my work, people will say, but there's no one like me here. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I understand that. And if you opened your door and
Mm-hmm.
you said, I'm the place where we're going to have maybe a spiritual book group, or
Yeah.
like you said, a hiking group
Yeah.
that focuses on hiking meditations, right?
Yeah.
However it
Yeah.
is that that person wants, if
Pulling your
create
tribe
that.
together. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. You definitely want to do that as much
And
as you
being
can.
okay with putting yourself out there. I think that's half of the battle. You know,
It
it's funny,
is.
but life is such a creative endeavor, and really, you can do with it what you want. And I think that's such a great tip because it can feel isolating, and we have the power to not be, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And to your point, Jupiter is headed into Leo end of June, beginning of July.
Yes.
This will support creative endeavors of anything where you feel called to create.
Mm,
And you weave that in with Pluto and Aquarius, where you called to create something of community. You weave that into Uranus and Gemini. You're called to create something of value that is related to community and healing and learning. So you start to weave together all these planetary aspects. And we should add Saturn in there because of the Saturn Neptune in Aries for,
yeah. Yeah.
it's a
New
big
new
deal.
starts. Yeah.
New starts and new
Hmm.
wisdom, and
Yep.
wisdom that's been gleaned over thousands of years. You know,
Mm,
when February 20th this year, when it happened and Saturn and Neptune were together at the 0 point of Aries,
right. Right.
that was in the making for over 6,000 years. That hadn't happened that way
Wow.
in
Yeah.
over 6,000 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Um, do you feel like, because I know my personal experience this past year has been this, expansive experience, but I also feel like I'm witnessing that just with people in general, like people
mhm.
are stepping into their unique creative expression and purpose a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that and experiencing that too?
Absolutely. And it when you asked that, or when you were starting to ask the question, I realized, again, always weaving things together, that because so many outer planets, which have much longer transits or orbits, right? So many planets have moved from one sign to another.
Right.
Anytime a planet is at 29 degrees, 0 degrees, or 1 degree, we have huge expansiveness.
Okay.
So Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto, they've all been doing this with us and for
Yeah.
us for about the last 2 years. Okay.
Hmm.
So it kind of coincides to what you're talking about. So, yes, am I seeing a lot? What I'm seeing is people really realizing that their gifts are important to bring forward and opening to those gifts in a new way.
Mhm.
Um, it's the intuition piece that tends to be where I do the most work with people is
Yeah.
to I normalize that for people. You
Mhm.
know, mediumship was where I started back when I was in my 20s. And that was okay. People were okay with that. Astrology was okay, but nothing like how it is now. There was still this need to kind of keep things underground because
Okay.
people were uncomfortable with some of those gifts.
Right.
What I have seen in the last 5 years is a profound shift in all of this being welcomed
Yeah.
into the world.
Mm.
It
Mhm.
okay, I don't know how much more time we have, but I would say that one of the things that's happened for me personally is that I have met so many people now who, because they're of their love of animals and their love of horses in particular, that they accepted me and my sensitivities and my gifts very easily because they understand that they're listening to their animals, that they're listening to nature, that there's more going on
Mhm.
than they can see. They
Mhm.
feel it, they know
Yeah.
it, they trust it. And
Yeah.
so I I'm always so feel so blessed by this to meet communities of people that honor our intuition
Mhm.
and want to develop it, to create more, to be able to hear more, to be able to see more, to be able to know more and to feel more. That's been it. I can't even begin to tell you what a tremendous gift it's been for me to be able to
Yeah.
meet these
I
people.
bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And the overlapping communities, like you're
Oh,
speaking of, maybe it's not just in the woo woo. It's not
no,
just in the
it's
woo
not.
woo
Not
community
anymore.
anymore. Everybody's
Yes,
kind of like opening a bit.
it is, and it's been great to see that. Not everything is accurate, but I but that's true for anything, I mean, you
Yeah.
can be on different platforms and I can tell you right now that a lot of it isn't real. But,
Hmm.
part of what Saturn is teaching us is discernment. But yes, this deep and profound expansion, what do we need? We need wisdom, we need discernment.
Hmm.
I need my mentors. My mentors are a little bit older than they were 30 years ago. So, I mean, there's a change that we're all a part of right now. And
Yeah.
teaching each other, sharing with each other is vital so that we can continue to pass along the wisdom, the knowledge, and the insight. And, on
Hmm.
my shelf over here, I have quite a few books. They're not standing up properly in the moment because I've been pulling books out of there.
Shuffling
But
them around.
I have been shuffling them around, but I've come across some extraordinary new authors talking about how we can, look at astrology, tarot, and understand the colonization that took place that changed what was really going on at those deeper levels.
Yeah.
Um, most of my tarot training was through the Mother Peace early on. And Vicki Noble, who lives in Santa Cruz,
Okay.
I didn't actually meet her there. I actually met her long before I ever moved to Santa Cruz, many
Oh,
decades
wow.
before.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But understanding the pre patriarchal um, mythologies is really key. So,
Okay.
looking at our archaeology, looking at
Yeah.
our anthropology, I mean, there's so much. And so here we are in a time where there is this richness, Kristen, where
Yeah.
people can really dive in and study and say, how can I see this in a way that's healthy and alive for everyone and that's going to open us to the greater frequencies of love and healing that we need right
Yes.
now.
Yeah. It's so funny that you bring that up. I was thinking, oh, there's so much that we can talk about. We'll just have to continue talking. But I was thinking about, talking about cycles, right? How we've been cut off from,
Mhm.
from a sort of patriarchal, for many, many, many years.
Yeah,
Um, the connection of cycles and the
yeah,
understanding the connection of nature and the energetics and all the
yeah.
mysticism, these types of
Yes,
things. And it does, I do get the sense that people are becoming more sensitive to these experiences in
yes,
themselves.
yes.
Hmm.
I think some of the things that I've noted, especially as music in the last 5 to 10 years, there's some incredible musicians who are through, I mean, music and art, theater
Yeah,
have always been the place,
right.
poetry,
Yes.
the arts are where evolution continues even when things are hard.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Always in the
that.
arts,
Yeah.
always. And I noticed that music that has come through um, carries a lot of this wisdom around cycles and learning and growing
Mhm.
and deepening and opening. And, um, it's just poetry, art, theater. It's all in
All
there.
and all extensions of the the divine. I
Always.
I'm sure you have read the book The Artist's Way. Have you?
I used to teach those classes for years when I
Really?
lived
Are
here
you
before.
serious? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that was the definition of 10 years of my life was
Oh,
running those circles.
of course it was. Oh, how much do I love that?
Yes, it's a great book and it still stands up to
Oh,
this
it
day.
still stands up. Well, I read it for the first time last year. And I started doing my morning pages, which became just so transformative in my
Yeah.
life. And it's funny because as I started writing the book last year, so I had this book kind of percolating for about 4 or 5 years about parenting, an alternative sort of parenting and adventuring
Yes.
book. And then I had a pretty big experience at the beginning of last year, coinciding with a pretty big surgery. Um, and I've actually had this happen twice in my life. And I'm curious if other people, if anybody listening to this has this same experience. I haven't really ever read or heard anything about it, but when I was 20, I'm veering off into a story now. When I was 22, my intestines got twisted up and I had to go in for emergency surgery. And I came out of it it felt like a spiritual surgery. That's the only way I can describe it. Like I came out of
Mm-hmm.
it different, really, really more awakened to like my spiritual experience. And then same thing happened last year with this surgery. And so I started writing. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, now is the time. The book is ready to come forward. And so I started writing, but then all of a sudden, it really became two books because it was the first book, but then it extended out into just the spiritual experience, the seeker's journey, and that whole path that I've been on, over the course of my life. And
Yes.
so as I'm writing these books, I went to my bookshelf because I had a Joseph Campbell book and I wanted to find some quotes from him. And I find this book and I'm like, The Artist's Way. I don't even know how it got on my bookshelf. And so I pull it out and I'm like, a course for creative writing. And so what I came to in the process of not only reading that book, but also writing the second book that I haven't even touched or looked at because I'm still trying to figure out the first one was um, what a divine um, connection there is between ourselves and the creative energy, and that the creativity is a gift from God, and having it in that perspective. really shifts it for me because so often in life, art is like second tier. Art is the thing that, oh, if there's enough funding, or, if you want
Right.
to do it, you're
Yeah.
going to be a starving artist and
Mm.
the life of,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
do.
so,
Yeah.
and also creativity isn't just relegated to art. Everything is a creative
Everything.
expression. How we
Living is a
speak,
creative expression.
living.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, I love the idea of really reinforcing in people the idea that their life is this creative, beautiful action, and it's their unique expression. And in that expression is their direct connection to God. It's all one
Absolutely.
and the same.
Absolutely. And I recommend the Artist Way a number of times each year to different clients because it is what shifted my life. And so again, to your point about art, creativity, life, I'm not an artist. In I'm a creative, and there's a difference. And even creative has taken on another meaning in this world
Yeah.
than even what I'm thinking. But
Yeah.
doing the Artist Way brought me to Ashland the first time back in 1998.
Yeah.
Doing that whole that's how I ended up here, was like I let myself open up to what the next adventure would be. I let myself
Yes.
open up to what that creative energy wanted to do and where it wanted to go. And so left behind a life, and that was not an easy choice, but it was the best choice ever, because then it opened up a brand new chapter. And I am very aware that this is a Saturn return of that time. So remember, Saturn returns every day to something. So when
Yep.
I look back to 1997 and now we're at 2026, that's am I right? Is that 29 years? I mean, it's a Saturn
Wow.
cycle. It's a
Yes.
Saturn
Yeah.
cycle. So
Wow.
if you can take, like, if we looked back at your chart and we looked at age 22 and then we looked at last year, we would find a cycle.
Yeah.
We would find one
I
of
wonder.
some
I
sort.
wonder what it
Yeah, well,
is.
I know we would. I know we would. So, but anyway, yes, so creativity lives within us. It is our life force energy. That's why we talk about embodiment, because
Yes.
it's our life force energy. And artists, anyone who's creative, and we're all creative. Like, to your point, we are all creative. Every single day
Mm,
we get out of bed, when
yes.
we have the opportunity to be fully alive, that's a gift, and
It
it's a
is.
creative gift, if you will. So
Yes.
um I could talk about the Artist Way forever, so perhaps another time.
Yes, we should do a whole
Okay.
Artist Way show.
Okay,
Um,
that'd be good.
well, in honor of your time, I just have one more question that I want to ask you, and that carries on perfectly with what we're talking about. And that is, what are the personal practices that you do in your daily life that connect you with the the creative energy, with the creator, with source? What are your like non-negotiables for grounding and centering yourself?
Okay. So non-negotiable is when I wake up, I take one moment, literally. I mean, what is it? A half a second, 2 seconds, a minute, and I just bathe in gratitude. I just open my eyes, even if it's the alarm going off. I do turn off the alarm first. um, and I just bathe in gratitude for just being here, being alive, being present. Um, that's number one. Before I go to bed at night, there's a similar practice. Usually I'm pretty tired, so it's more of a just a quick thank you for the day,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
During the day, a non-negotiable for me is some sort of nature. I really feel and I love doing this, to breathe in colors in nature. So let's say it's super stormy outside. I've got plants, so I can breathe in the green from the plant. But I prefer to be outside at some point
Yeah.
during the day.
Yeah.
And deepen into that connection. I live in a very urban environment that is profoundly beautiful right now because
It
everybody
is.
has plants and trees. And so I don't even need to live in the bucolic, beauty, but I am very grateful for that. And I will say that astrology is clearly a practice for me. So every day, without fail, I'm looking at
Oh,
something in the astrology
ooh,
to learn
ooh.
something new. Yeah, to learn
Yeah.
something new or to find some guidance. Um, Tarot is a daily practice. I have a lot of cards, and so I'll generally pull one card for the day and just kind of see what is. And again, I really, as I like to teach tarot, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear?
Hmm.
So I do that with myself. I don't necessarily look it up in a book. I just am with
Yeah.
the image. Maybe later look it up in a book. I'd
Yeah.
love to tell you that morning pages were a daily practice, but they're not. My journaling has fallen off over the years, but
It's
it is.
hard. It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
commit to. Mhm.
But I have my journals here. Even if I just literally take a minute or two to write something down during a
Yeah.
day, that would be great.
Yes.
But my favorite way to start a day is to be in gratitude, to come downstairs and sit quietly, put on my fairy lights, do some journaling, and just get the day started with that level of awareness and connection. From a very personal place, I'm very connected to the divine, to the creator. I am constantly in conversation with creator. I am constantly in conversation with goddess or a goddess or this goddess or that goddess. I am constantly in that internal that never stops.
Yeah.
But it is a deep and profound um connection that I'm so grateful for. And then the embodiment practice, the actual sensuous wisdom and the embodiment practice, I don't do that daily, but I drop in several times a week and do
Mm.
that practice. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have a lot of practice. I mean, it's practices are, I
The
love
more the
them.
better. The more the merrier.
I have Saturn in Pisces. I have Saturn in Pisces.
Oh,
So
yeah.
structures and practices for the divine
Oh,
connection to,
totally.
it's who I
Totally.
am. I
Yep.
love it. Yeah,
Wow, and Saturn just came out of Pisces, huh?
it did.
Right?
Yeah.
It did.
I
So you had a
know. I
couple
feel
years
like
of it in there.
I loved it. And here's the
Yeah.
thing, because again, I don't know when this will air, but it is important to talk about all this Aries energy, even if we're past it. So even if you're listening
Mm-hmm.
to this a year from now, to
Mm-hmm.
know that we have all this opportunity for fresh starts and new beginnings, to know that we have the opportunity to bring Saturn's wisdom. Astrology builds on itself because, and you've talked about cycles and how far away we have come from those cycles, but ancient peoples, they didn't have all the distractions that we have created as humans, so they were much more tuned in. And when astrology was created, the idea was Aries is the beginning, Pisces is the end, but everything continues and builds on each other. So
Right.
even though Saturn is in Aries and it's a fresh new beginning, Saturn's bringing all the wisdom of having been through the entire cycle for the last 29 years. So no matter
Right.
what we're doing in our lives right now, we have opportunity for a new start, a new beginning, but it's based on what did we learn in 29 years of our lives?
Mm-hmm.
What have we learned? What wisdom are we bringing? What are we
Mm-hmm.
letting go of? What is the discernment? What are the new parameters of our lives? How can this be a safer and more sacred container for this new beginning? So that's something.
That is wonderful. That's a wonderful question for all of us to ask ourselves right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
It
question
makes me
I mean,
think. Makes
I
me
know, it
think
makes
for
me think
sure. Okay,
too.
what have I
Yeah.
been doing the past 29 years and how can
Yeah,
I
you've
up
been doing
level
quite a
from
lot.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big chunk of time.
It is. Also, I do want to mention that Mars, I don't know, I think it's either moved into Aries today or it's quite close. Um, Mars is a 2-year cycle. So that's a shorter cycle, but kind of fun to look at because Mars is life force energy, it's creativity.
Mm,
Um, it's a lot of energy, and it can
Mhm.
go both ways. There's a shadow, and I do want to say I don't bypass the shadows.
Yeah.
I tend to focus on what we can do with the energy that's good and positive.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I always say, this is what I always say on Cosmic Compass: you can see the shadows everywhere. You don't need to come here to see the shadows. I don't need to show those to you. But Mars's cycle of every 2 years is an interesting one, because you can just look back. What have I been doing for the last 2 years to
Mm.
increase my life force? What have I been doing
Yeah.
for the last 2 years to engage in something creative? And if I haven't been, what can I do now?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And kind of fresh starts. It does come with the fresh energy, and Mars is at home in Aries. So it's kind
It
of an
is.
extra, a double double.
It's a double double, and it's super awesome. And we will have, by the 17th, we will have 7 planets in Aries. And I will say that this is the most in our lifetime at one time.
Wow, that is pretty
So
magical and
it is.
intense.
It's a lot. It's
Yeah,
intense.
it's a lot.
Can we just all verify how intense it's been? Okay,
Yes.
raise your hand if it's been
Okay,
intense.
good.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, how do we get through
Get in
intensity? We build our
community. Get into
Yes, you get in
community.
community, build your capacity
Yeah.
for love and healing energy, and get
Yes.
back into community again.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. And so it
Okay.
is. Yeah. Well,
Yay.
thank you so much. Oh, you have so much wisdom, and I just feel so blessed to get a sliver of your time and share in your energy today. Just really excited for more.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for your
Yeah.
inspiration and your joy and your talent. And I can't wait to read your books.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You may have to be one of my beta readers so you can give me some
Oh,
feedback.
okay.
You
I'd
know,
love
you
to.
were an English teacher once upon a time.
It's true. Doesn't, yeah, I was a good
So
English teacher in some ways. We had a lot of fun. I'll tell
I
you that
bet you
much.
did. Oh, you did for sure. Denise, where can people find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, the best place is my website, DeniseElizabethByron.com, or I am on Instagram, Denise Elizabeth Byron, and Facebook. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, those are just the basics. And yeah,
Okay.
if you want to reach me, there is a form on the website that you can click into and send me an email. And I do my best. I'm very busy at times, so if you don't hear from me
Yes.
right away, I will respond, I promise. So,
And there are quite a few offerings available through your website, yes, and
yes, and we have
astrology, different
discussed, yes.
offerings.
Yes, the website's a little out of date, so just email me. Um, but I think the thing I love the most is, if you want to
Yeah,
be
what
part
do
of the
you love
Cosmic
right
Compass.
now?
Well,
Okay.
Cosmic Compass Conversations is great because it's free, it's available for everyone, it's on YouTube. But if you sign up through my website, then I can send you all the other offers that do
Yes.
come through. It is,
Okay.
honestly, it is my distinct pleasure always to, if you're new to astrology, or even if you've had astrology before but you want to try a deep dive, that's my favorite. And mentoring is also my favorite. I think it's going to be really hard. It's kind of like children. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You know, all the
You're all
offerings are
my
my favorite.
favorites. I
You're all
know.
my favorites. So
I
anyway,
know.
but thank you so much for having me here. Um, I wanted to say to your community that you are very blessed to be part of Kristen's community. And if you're new to this community, please stay here, because Kristen has so much to share herself, but also I know you know some pretty cool people. These first episodes have been pretty awesome. So
Well, thank you so much, Denise.
you're
Love you
welcome.
dearly. And to
Yeah.
everybody out there, just so, so many blessings as always. And be well until next time.